Can't see me, fool. Happy Halloween, niggas. Niggas. Back to get the party popping one more time. Or one more again. Yup. Now this one right here, of course, it's gonna be a Halloween edition. I don't even think I'm gonna name this one Birth of the Sun, Formation of the Earth, and blah 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 blah. This is gonna be my This is gonna be my be like a spin-off kind of. Then I'm gonna double back after this one. Probably do 2 more videos on the Birth of the Sun thing, because I done pretty much already showed y'all the actual Birth of the Sun. And at this point I'm just referencing different scholarship to correspond to the actual drawing that I'm or the actual drawings I got here, and showing y'all how the ancient mythos or mythology was basically one of the primary things that it was pertaining to was the formation of the earth and the birth of the sun and many other things. So I ain't gonna say many other things, because this right here in particular is talking about the formation of the earth. But the mythologies they don't just stop with the actual formation of the earth. Some, they had a eschatological aspects, or in the age aspects to them. But this one here, we on the Halloween shit. Brought the monsters out. Now, you about my age or older, because we was a little bit closer to the popping off of, I guess you would say, American cinema. Not that close, I was born in '83 and shit, but I'm quite sure that the kids from this generation, they probably a little bit more removed from how horror and film first popped off, in the early 1900s, when cinema got the popping and all that. The original monsters the original monsters that we're used to, that was presented to us via silver screen. At first, before you had your Freddy Kruegers and your Jasons and all that, you had the basics. You had the Wolfman, Werewolf. You had Dracula. Dracula, the Werewolf. It was Dracula, the Werewolf, the Mummy. And those are pretty much horror, or categorized in the horror category or whatever. And then you would have your monsters like Godzilla and King Kong. you know, in the inception of American cinema, these were like the big names, so to speak, or the most known or the original monsters or whatever. And later on down the line after that, you start getting the Lovecraft guys' work, which is when, you know, horror started turning into like the Blob, the Mist. You know, they said a lot of that stuff came from Lovecraft work. A lot of what else? I'm trying to think of some more shit. The Blob. Like the Hydra and all that shit. It's all Cthulhu mythos and shit. But based on so many words, they say Lovecraft, the book he wrote, the Necronomicon, is pretty much what gave way to the next era of horror after Frankenstein, and that's another one. Frankenstein, it was missing somebody. It was Frankenstein, the werewolf, Dracula. Them the ones you usually see together. Frankenstein, Dracula, the werewolf, and the mummy. And then they say after that era came the a lot of the works, because the Necronomicon was basically open source, was basically open source thing. He made it to where he wrote it, but anybody could go and use his work and create spin-offs from the work that he laid down in the Lovecraft book or whatever, or Lovecraft Necronomicon book or whatever. And then after that, you start getting your Jasons, your Freddy Kruegers, and Pumpkinheads, and Pet Cemetery, and all that type of shit. So what I'm dealing with right now, and if you've been following these last couple of videos that I've been doing, you'll probably get an idea of where I'm headed with this right here. But first and foremost, one of the last videos I did before I went on a little 2-year hiatus, I think it was called, what did I call it? I think it was called Strange Fruit, or I think it was called Strange Fruit. Yeah, I think it was Strange Fruit. That's on my Starface Spaceship page. This is Starface Summer. I got another YouTube page called Starface Spaceship. I can't get into it right now. That's why I started a new page. But I know eventually I'll probably find a way to get back in it, or I just take the videos that I got from over there and share them to my new one. I got a nice little plethora over there. Not too crazy, but I got enough nice little work on that page right there for those that are not familiar with the kid. And but in that video, basically what I did was I broke down the game. Well, I was speaking about this game called Rampage, old throwback game, where you can play as a giant reptile or Godzilla type figure, a King Kong giant ape type figure, and a giant werewolf. And what I did, so many words, was break down how those that's possibly how those species were in the beginning. You probably had giant wolves or a giant canine type figure, the giant ape, and a giant reptile type figure. And then as time progressed, since we couldn't live on the earth as in any physical bodies, we were here with them, but we were more ethereal, more spiritual, more ghostly like or whatnot, kind of like the Predator was on the Predator when he camouflaged. But we knew that the form that we were about to take on, as far as the full or the full human body, we knew we wouldn't be able to exist on the planet with them. It'd have been a conflict. You know, the motherfucker would have been terrorizing us or whatever. So what we ended up doing was breaking them down into smaller versions of those species. So all your canine type figures will be broke down, cause that's how the game is. You play as the monsters, and then when you lose all your energy and you die, you shrink. You shrink from being a giant monster, and you shrink all the way down to a regular human, and you die, whatever. And so that led me to think to myself, well, I heard Bobby Hemming once say we we couldn't stay on the planet with the dinosaurs because they were too big, whatever. So we blew them up. So what I added on that was, not only we didn't just blow them up, we broke them down into smaller versions of what they already were. So whatever it is that they whatever importance they had to the ecosystem, they can still contribute that, but scattered out and broken down into smaller pieces to where we can, or smaller versions, to where we can live on the planet with them harmoniously. That's what that. So when I played, you know, because what came up playing that game, it was a real popular game back in the day. But I took that, what Bobby had said, because he was just talking about the dinosaurs. But I was like, well, shit, maybe that's where all these movies about Godzilla and King Kong from. It wasn't just the dinosaurs that big. You probably had giant apes and giant reptiles, and giant monsters like that we have to break down in order to live on the planet with them. So then it made sense, because when you look at the dinosaur, the name dinosaur is a combination of two different words which both come from a saw, because you got dino or saw, or dinosaur. You got a saw, which is Osiris, or saw, and then you got another version of Osiris in Greece, which is Dionysus. So it's like they put the two together. And just like Osiris was broke down or dismembered, we dismembered the giants, the giant reptile, but we turned them into smaller versions of themselves. So, which brings me to episode of Game of Thrones that I once saw. Genius shit, man. Genius shit. It was like don't ask me what season it was. It was like the last episode of like 2015 or some shit like that. Maybe 2016. I'm not sure. But whatever, I never got to get, that's one show I have to go, when I finally do have cable and some access to all that shit, I got to go back and watch all that shit, because that's some good TV. I caught a few episodes of it, but I never got to really get all the way into it, because by the time I started watching it, hell, it was already season 4 and all this old type shit. But I watched enough of it to say it's some good shit. A whole lot of occult shit in there. If you a researcher, or you study, or you conscious, when you watch that, a lot of shit will pop out to you and show you that whoever wrote this shit, they ain't a motherfucking joke. They know their shit. But anyway, whatever it was like a war going on, and they were like rushing this castle or something. And the way the visual was set up, it was shot from like a bird's eye view. It was shot from a bird's eye view. So of course the camera is panning from one side of the screen to the other or whatever. But it's from a bird's eye view. So all you see is these soldiers, like these little warriors or whatever, all dressed up in black, and it's like a army of them all rushing towards this one building. And as it's panning, you see all these soldiers, everything looks small from the bird's eye view, so you see all the little soldiers or whatever. And then they get to one point where amongst the soldiers, it's a giant, which I think that was your boy, Jon Snow, if I'm not mistaken, Jon Snow had a brother that was a giant, if I'm not mistaken. But anyway, they all running and shit, rushing towards it. It's kind of going like slow motion. Not too slow, but it's like in slow motion. So they all rushing towards the castle or whatever, including the giant. So by the time they get like towards the front door, or they get close up to the front of the castle or whatever, the giant fell. When the giant fell, the way they had this shit set up was so dope. The giant fell. You got the giant, you got all the little soldiers around him. So when the giant fell, he fell, and then all the soldiers little soldiers that was flanking him when he fell, they all ran out in front of him. So you got his body falling flat, and then when he fall flat, all the soldiers coming like from around him, and then rushing, and they coming from around him, and then running in front of him towards the castle. And the way the shit looked, the way they made it look, it was like the giant fell and he broke up. You got the giant falling, and then all the little soldiers around him running in front of him. But you got to see this shit. I'm not probably doing no justice by the way I'm explaining it. But when he fell and all them little soldiers ran in front of him, this shit looked like the goddamn giant fell. It made it look as if the giant fell and broke into smaller pieces, and rushed, and the smaller pieces rushed into the castle or whatever the fuck they was going into. That was the I said, oh, okay, that's the Titans. When I saw that, I said, that's the Titan thing. The giant being a Titan, he falls, breaks up into many different versions. The same way the Titans were, like I was telling you in another video, the Titans were struck by lightning. Zeus struck them with the lightning bolt, and then made humans out of the ashes of the Titans. So this shit looked like when the giant fell, he broke into smaller pieces. They all rushed up into the joint or whatever. I'll say touche, baby, parlez-vous français. This is good TV. That was some ill shit. Like, that was some ill shit. So I just thought that was interesting to know. But anyway, back to the video. It's funny, that was like one of the, I think I did that video, then I think I did like two more. I think I did another mic video. I think I did like two more mic videos after that. And then I went on a little hiatus. But it's called Strange Fruit. Now, fast forward to now, everything came back full circle. Because when I did the video, I even gave y'all a little preview of what I was going to do right now, or what I'm doing right now in that video with the whole Prince thing and the Doves Cry. I just didn't go all the way into it. But I had already had all this, the process and the visual of all this figured out. But as far as showing y'all the monsters, I hadn't put that together yet, or whatever. So, you know, all the shit I'm telling y'all about the army and how this is the dog-headed ape and all that shit, I hadn't got to that point yet, but I had broke down the Rampage game or whatever. So, here we are, 2 years some change later. A couple months ago, I posted on Friday the 13th. You know, it's Friday the 13th and shit. So, you know, I want to have a little fun. For one, I know the science of the Friday the 13th shit. The Friday isn't really the big deal in the Friday the 13th shit. The 13th goes with the Jason theme because they get the concept of Jason. Jason, you probably find it hard to believe, but Jason is a form of Christ or Jesus or whatever you want to call the boy. Jah's son, or when it wasn't no J, Aya's son, because you know the J came later down the line. After they say J came from I, some say it came from Y. I read it evolved from I, or they got it from I, or something like that. But whatever the case, Jah meaning God, and you got son, God's son, son of God. And the son of God, you have Christ, and you got 12 disciples. Christ is the 13th warrior. He's the 13th. You have the 12 disciples. He sits in the center and disciplines all the zodiacs. You know, we all have a particular zodiac sign that we're born under, but the ultimate goal is to understand that, yeah, I'm a Virgo or I'm whatever, but I'm all 12 of these motherfuckers. So you want to see how all 12 of them pertain to you, or you understand that you the goddamn master in the center of the circle. The master sits right there. The 12 zodiacs are around that motherfucker. So you got the sun that sits in the center of the solar system and has 12 zodiacs or whatever. The Friday, you know, we was coming up, people like, oh, Friday the 13th, something bad gonna happen. The reason why I got the stigma, the Friday part comes from the Knights Templar. The Knights Templar, which was a secret society or whatever over there in Europe, they ended up, you know, they was operating for a minute, working for the Pope and all this shit. They ended up falling out with the Pope, and they issued a basically a sweeping indictment of all them niggas, all the Knights Templar and shit. So they had to just go on the run and start hiding. But they caught the leader, a dude named Jacques de Molay or something like that. And they killed him on a Friday the 13th, on a Friday, which was the 13th, or that Friday was the 13th that they killed him. So, in their world, the Knights Templar world, or whatever, that Friday was a fucked up day for them, because they took a major blow or whatever. So that's where the whole Friday thing comes from, with the 13th. But when you go back to Jason, you know, they probably, when they created Jason, and Jason had some, as I've just showed y'all, you know, it had some occult meaning to it and shit. So whoever came up with Jason probably attached the whole Knights Templar thing to it, Friday the 13th, whatever. But it was Friday the 13th. So you know, you had that one scene, I think on Jason Takes Manhattan. Well, it's Jason Takes because he walked through New York. When he walked through New York, and he got the kids on the corner with the boom box. Jason walked by, kicked the boom box over. So the dudes jump up like, hey man, the fuck wrong with you, whatever. So Jason turned around, he put his mask up. And you know, under his mask, he ugly than a motherfucker. He real monstrous under that mask. So when he lifted the mask up, the kids like, before he lifted the mask up, he turned around, and them niggas pull out their knives and shit or whatever. And Jason said, fuck y'all. And he pulled that mask up. And when he pulled that mask up, them niggas backed up and got somewhere. And then he walked out. And by me working with all this shit for the last couple of years, I said, oh, I see what that is. When he pulled the mask up, he's showing them the APAP face, the Dragon of Drought face. Because remember, I know it's getting redundant, but y'all just stick with me. When all this light retracted out this circle, it left the circle dark or black. This the face he showed them. The APAP face, the drought, the face of drought. On the post I called it the Great Face of Terror, because when all the light left from out of the, when all this light went up and all this light went out, it left that middle part desolate and dry, dehydrated. And it's a terrible thing to look up on because you're looking at a barren land. So, in one of the hashtags, I put Monster Mash. You know, that's one of the things that came to me looking at the video or whatever. So, about a month later, I'm in the supermarket and I see some cereal called Monster Mash. I see the Monster Mash cereal, or the 50th anniversary of the Monster Mash cereal. Now the Monster Mash, you had 3 cereals. You got Frankenberry, and these are seasonal. They only bring these back for the Halloween holidays and shit. But you got Frankenberry, which is the Frankenstein edition. Then you had Count Dracula, which was the chocolate. He was Count Chocula though. It was Dracula though. It was based on Dracula. And then you had the Ghost, which was the Blueberry. I started to get the Monster Mash was, those are 3 separate cereals. You know, they all from the same brand, but they're just 3 different versions. So the Monster Mash was mashing them all together, putting them all together, so you had all 3 of them cereals in one. Now I personally I never really ate any of them growing up, and last year I got a box of Blueberry for the first time, and the shit was trash. I don't know if, a lot of shit come back and fall off, so I don't know if they was better in the old days. I never really got them in the old days, and I think they just brought them back. Like I said, I think back then they used to sell them all the time, but it's like now they only bring them back for Halloween. So when I ate the Blueberry, it was trash. So when I seen the Monster Mash, I'm like, man, I should get that just for the souvenir, just to have a box. But I know the cereal trash. They all got marshmallows, but the grain or the other part of the cereal is just, when I ate the Blueberry, it was just like flavorless. I was like, man, this the shit niggas was going wild about. But it was the 50th anniversary of that cereal or whatever. And I'm thinking, like I said, I never seen the Monster Mash version when I was growing up, so I'm thinking that maybe that was something that came out periodically over the years, where they mixed all 3 of them cereals together. Because I remember the 3, but I never remember the Monster Mash or whatever. So okay. Fast forward to this, I get to breaking this down to you. Just in time for the Halloween season. It's show you how the spirit world hook shit up. But I start doing this and it spills over into this Halloween season. And all throughout these breakdowns, what am I showing you? The Monster Mash. I showed you how the mummy process was represented within this creation mythos. I showed you Anubis with the Howlin' Wolf reference. Shout out to my man Howlin' Wolf. You know who Howlin' Wolf is, go watch Cadillac Records. I was telling you how the Smokestack Lightning, I'm trying to figure out where the hell where he got that. Because you know these guys, Howlin' Wolf, these guys from like the early 1900s. So I'm trying to figure out. It's funny because like I said, when this point right here shot up, that was Anubis, or that was the jackal, or the dog, or you can say the wolf, the canine. When all this light shot up and everything retracted up into here, and the moon was created, you had the ice sitting on top, and we know that ice has that steam or smoke that comes up off of it when it's, you know how you open your ice box, the fog and shit come up out of that. Then you had the ice stack on the top, or the lower part of the earth, and then you had the star shooting the lightning out. Then after that, you had more smoke with the sun or the fireball coming through here to penetrate down there. Howling Wolf, smokestack lightning. That's a channel. That's how this shit be coming through. Because you listen to the song Smokestack Lightning. On the song, song is basically about him, he's talking to his girl or whatever. But it's funny how his name is Howling Wolf, and that song Smokestack Lightning, how I can see that in this creation process of the moon or whatever. But anyway, you got the Wolfman, which is the Howling Wolf, the Jackal, Anubis, Anpu, and really Anubis would be Anpu and Anubis are both the same, basically two names for the same character. But what I come to understand, you got Anup or On A-N-U-P, on up. So Anup would be the Jackal when everything's going up and the creation process is going down. When this point right here, before all this was set up and the light was out here and this point shot up and everything followed it, that would be Anup, on up. And Anubis, A-N-U-B-I-S, this is P, on up. And then you got Anubis, it's the B. So the Anubis would probably be more of the underworld side of Anubis, or what we know as Anubis, the Jackal. So I found it interesting how all those came up in this Halloween season, right after I did the whole Monster Mash thing, whatever. So I showed y'all the wolf. I showed y'all the mummy. Dracula is really Osiris. It's a difference between Dracula and the vampires. They mixed all this shit into one, but it's a difference between Dracula and blood-sucking vampires. Osiris, what is Osiris thrown in by Set? He's thrown in a casket. What does Dracula sleep in? A casket. Dracula is a nocturnal being. Osiris has two versions. He has Lord of the Perfect Black, that's the nocturnal version of him, and then you have the green Osiris, which represents the work, the energy that's basically creates and vitalizes the green plant life of the world or whatever. So the whole succubus part is the Osiris, Lord of the Perfect Black, because the darkness sucks. Like I was telling you how when all this light was retracting, these points were sucking the light towards them or whatever, and the mountains or the melanin was absorbing the light or sucking the light in. That's where the whole, as far as for us and the whole Osirian aspect of it, that's what the whole sucking thing comes from or whatever. White people, the ones in the top circles or whatever, they have to drink blood to get the melanin that we have. So they actually have to drink the blood. We are the Titans, so we have the light absorbed in us, in our melanin. Our melanin is highly functional because we have the light within us. We don't have to drink blood and do all that shit. Is a nocturnal being. And then Dracula comes from the constellation, something about the constellation of Dracos. It's some constellation out in the Zodiac or whatever called Dracos that we used to deal with as far as with Kemet or whatever. Don't give me the line about the details, whatever. But I'm familiar with it, because it's got a whole thing to it. But Dracula would be Osiris sleep in his coffin, and then the darkness would be the coffin, and the light would be Osiris inside of it. And Osiris is the Lord of Perfect Black. This is nocturnal aspect. So that's the Dracula. Gave y'all the wolf, gave you the King Kong, the ape army, the dog-headed ape, Anubis being right here, the dog head, the human body or the monkey body, the ape with the dog head, that's the King Kong. Godzilla would be the earth itself, the great beast, the reptilian or whatever. That would be your Godzilla thing. Godzilla shoots the lasers out the eyes. This shit, before the fireball came out, the Star Series or whatever shot the lightning bolt down or whatever to open shit up. And it's just crazy. I didn't even plan all that. This shit just all came together like that when you put together everything I'm saying in this video or whatever. So I found that quite miraculous, my friends. See how much time I got, so I can see which direction I can go in. Okay, I can get a little groovy with y'all. Now, hold up, niggas. Let me pay the water bill real quick. Now, Halloween. Since we deal with Halloween, we deal with a few scary flicks. You know, when you look at Jason, Jason is he was drowned where what he's associated with. Camp Crystal Lake. What's Camp Crystal Lake? Where's the crystal? I showed you the face of Jason when all the light, like I said, all the light shoot from out of the circumference. Similar corresponds to him lifting his mask up. Jah's son, the light being the sun, Jah being the God's light, God's son. The crystal would be the moon that's created after all the light retracts from the center of the circumference and out the top of the pole. That's your crystal right there. That's your Camp Crystal Lake thing right there. And then how did he die? He drowned. So even though the drowning is what made him, you see it won't correspond directly to how I'm breaking it down with this with these joints here. But you got the drowning, like I said, when he raised up his mask, he has the APAP face. And the APAP overthrown by Horus, she's drowned by the great waters. He's drowned in order to become Jason. you know, and he represents an ancient evil returning. And like I told y'all before, I know I've said it before, a lot of these scary movies represent the return of the divine nigga mind, for lack of a better way of putting it. That's why it's always a story where, like Jason, he got drowned by all the kids, he came back for revenge. Freddy Krueger, he got Freddy Krueger got burned up in the house and shit. Died, came back, killing motherfuckers. Candyman came back, he got killed out in the field, came back, killing motherfuckers. These things are symbolic of the subconscious mind of black people. The return of of niggas to their divine mind, which is the era that we're living in right now. Something else interesting I bumped into while I put together about the Candyman joint. First and foremost, the Hook, Osiris, Candyman is Osiris. The Hook, Osiris is the good shepherd. He has two things he carries: the crook and the flail. The crook is basically a hook that the shepherd uses to, yoke the sheep around the neck and pull them back to protect them or whatever, or to keep them in line or whatever. And then the ones that two rebellious got the flail, which is like the whip, which is used to beat them into submission or whatever. So when you see the hook on Candyman, it symbolizes, it comes from the crook thing, because the whole Candyman idea is Osirian. Bees are sacred to Osiris. The nigga was black. Shout out to Tony Todd. I haven't seen a new one yet. But shit, if he ain't playing that Candyman, I'm not gonna say it's not a good movie, but that's a tough act to follow. He played it. That was the perfect goddamn. That nigga played the shit out of that role. That nigga is Candyman. You see that nigga? He played that shit to a T. They casted that real perfect. And even that movie. Okay, well, I'll show you this. The crook. What's the crook? You have a line, hook, 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 line, hook, 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 line, hook, 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 line, hook, hook, hook. And the flail, what a flail is, flail looks like it's a stick, but it has tassels on the top. You know how when your graduation cap has the little strings on the top of it? It's like that, but it's like, made to where you can whip somebody with it or whatever. Whip something with it. Your flail would be right here. This would be the handle, and then this would be the actual flails right here. But with the Candyman thing, show you a badass part in that movie. When he opened up his jacket and you see all them, you see his body is emaciated. You pretty much just see his skeleton and bones covered in beads. That comes from when I told you when as the light retracts from the center all the way up to the edge of circumference, it leaves behind particles of gold light all throughout the circle. So you have this So you have, like I said, you have this darkness, but unlike what you see right here in my picture, you have the darkness, but then you have specks of light all throughout it. Particles of light all throughout it. The particles of light are the bees up against the black backdrop or his skeleton or whatever. So when he opens his jacket up, the opening of the jacket corresponds to the retracting of the light. The light retracts and then he leaves the darkness behind with the light, with the melanin flakes, particles of light all throughout the circumference. The bees that's on his body when he opens his jacket will be the particles of light. You know, bees black and gold or whatever. Black and gold, black and yellow. I thought that was dope. And then in the end, Helen, she's in the bonfire. They finna burn the baby. She in the bonfire. She saved the baby, but she died, but she saves the baby. So it's like she gets the baby out the bonfire and out the middle of the bonfire and throws it out to somebody, and then she dies within the bonfire. That's the sun. Her getting the sun out of the bonfire represents or symbolic of, after that fireball, like I said, all that light retracted up here, and then they shot the fireball back down, and then it comes down here, and it comes out. Well, you know, like I was telling y'all, as the sun comes down here, but each time it comes down here, the earth jacks up a little bit to the point to where by the time the sun gets to this chakra right here, this chakra will be sitting where this was at, and this will be raised up. And then you have the sun sitting right here, and then the earth will come off the earth will basically push the sun into this pocket right here and then go off into its orbit, and the moon will blow off the top of the earth, which is this part. And basically you can look at it how you want to. The earth pushes the sun out into its fixated position, and it goes off to its orbit. Her pushing the baby out, the baby would be the sun being pushed out of the fire. When it's coming down here, you got the fire coming through the middle. This is the bush that never burned. The fireball comes through here. You know, when Moses said he seen a burning bush, but the bush wasn't consumed. The fire comes through here, and the reason why it's not consumed, this is not consumed because the sun has this path, the straight path. So you got the heat coming through here, but it doesn't spread out and burn all that right there. This is the bush right here, the thorn bush. The specks of light that on top of the dark melanin down here are the thorns, or symbolized by thorns, or whatever. Little dots of light. The sticky bush. So her pushing the little boy out, the baby out on the bonfire and then dying symbolizes the earth pushing the sun out of its cosmic womb, to put it. And if she dies or whatever in the fire, I thought that was pretty dope right there. I just put that together not too long ago, a couple of days ago. Just sitting there thinking about the movie and shit, which is an excellent movie. But yeah, the whole Candyman thing is that's an Osirian. And even when you go watch part 2 and they show you how he was made, or how he was killed to become Candyman, what did they do to him? They smeared honey over his body. And I told you at first, the top, the waters of noon, these were the dark waters of noon. That light came through the center and smeared or spread it throughout the circumference, creating this. The same way the honey was spread over the body of Candyman. And then when that light retracted and went out the circumference, that corresponds to when he opens his jacket and shows the bees all over his body or whatever. Excellent shit, man. Good shit. See how much time I got. About 10 minutes left. Oh yeah. I just thought that was interesting to know. But yeah, man. Oh, that's another thing too. The bones. When this turns to when this top turns to what will become the moon, you got the skull, crossbones, the skeleton. So we gotta demystify some of this shit. Well, really, when Halloween come around, you can get away with shit. So Halloween come around, you got skulls and shit around your house, you know, fake skulls or whatever, and all this monstrous shit. It's cool where be like, well, let's in the name of Halloween, he's doing this Halloween thing. But have that type of shit popping all year and your people come around, they're gonna be looking at you like, oh, he's into that black magic. He's one of those guys. But then when Halloween come around, we're doing the same shit. But it's in the name of Halloween. All these things have a reason for being done. Like the skull and the crossbone and the skeleton. When you celebrate Halloween, Halloween comes from what they call it All Saints Day or Hallows Eve. And like I was saying in another video, Halloween is when really after September, after the when you get to the fall equinox, it's like a gateway opens up. And this is the time of the year between that date, September 22nd, going into Christmas. This is when, especially in the month of October for sure, I've seen this shit with my own eyes. Yeah. But this is the time of the year where it's, for lack of a better way of putting it, it's a lot of spiritual activity taking place on the planet. A lot of paranormal activity. This is the time of the year where the ancestors come through heavily. That's why if you deal with any ancestors or you make any kind of contact with them or whatever, you know, this is one of the best times to do it. You know, you got an altar or whatever, you know, whatever they like, put it out, and it's good. This is the time of the year where it's really good to keep an eye out for spiritual experiences. It's just like in the midst of doing this, look at everybody that came through with Leah, Pop, Left Eye, Tina Reed, the Wonder Page. Cause I was reading that one part in ancient Egypt, Light of the World, where it was talking about Sekhet, who brings the fire against the enemy of her brothers. And that same day, it was LaWanda Page, which y'all may know as Esther from Sanford and Son. See how all this shit come? It was her birthday, her 100. It would have been her 101st birthday. And I think in that same video that day, or one before that, I was showing y'all the gateways, the 1 and the 1, 1, 1, and 0. And I never knew her nickname is the Bronze Goddess of Fire. You know, so she came through. Red, I ain't do no since he ain't in the videos I did, but Red Fox popped up on a nigga the other day. So you know it's the time of the year where when you pay attention, you start seeing it's easy to see the ancestors showing up, or whatever you want to call them, the ancestors, the great old ancestors. They show up if your third eye open, if you really working with something or whatever. Now 2017, I have to say that's gonna be a Halloween that go down in goddamn history for me. Cause when I got this motherfucking house here, I see all kind of shit popping off. No bullshit. I was going through some shit, man, and I had some cake. So I cut me a piece of cake. Then I cut out another piece for the aunt, from my sister. homie Cassie, I put a some cake out for her, and put another piece out for somebody else, and you know I'm sitting there, man. Now, and 2017 was a rough year for a nigga. So by this at this time, yeah, I'm kind of fucked up. So you know I sitting there, man. I just start crying and shit. You know, going through some shit, whatever. Real nigga tears. And I got a skull, a ceramic skull up in here that I had bought around that time, but it was Halloween and shit. So you know I was getting my Halloween motif shit. But I had the skull sitting on the table or whatever. So I got my head down while I'm crying. And bullshit you not, I looked up, and when I looked up, I looked at the skull, and I bullshit you not, it was a goddamn, it was tears coming out of the eyes of the skull. That was some of the most remarkable shit I ever seen in my life. So, you know, and it was like about a week or two before Halloween, around this time, about a week or two before Halloween or whatever. But the goddamn skull had tears coming out his motherfucking eyes. No bullshit. And that motherfucker had just been sitting right there on the table all day or whatever. Just me in here. I was just looking at the motherfucker before I broke down crying and shit. I got to crying and I looked back up and I looked at that skull. That motherfucker had tears coming out his eyes. I said, damn. So you know, they go show you that's just a sign of the type of juice I'm working with and how because I went through a lot of shit that year, man, and I was going through it. So, you know, that was the answer. So probably my girl Cassie came through the skull or something. She was sad to see a nigga like that. I was fucked up at that time. You know. So yeah, man, this shit is real. You tap into it, ain't gonna be spooked out about. Your best bet is to be walking around this motherfucker with some real juice outside of this shit that it gave you with religion and stuff, especially these times today, cause it's fucked up out there. And you know, that old time religion, that shit that we've been raised up on is dying out. You want to be familiar with the type of information that your ancestors was on, so when spiritual shit start happening around you, you won't freak out. Cause if I was spiritual, if I was just a Joe Blow and that shit happened, I would probably went crazy or some shit, or I lost my goddamn mind, or ran about this motherfucker or something. But by me being spiritual, I wasn't afraid. You know what I'm saying? Even when I first got to this goddamn house, it was some paranormal shit popping off. And I had to step back like, hold up, what the fuck going on in this bitch? Who's here? Who goes there around this motherfucker? But then, you know I got them spirits around me and shit, so I know it was me. But at that time, I was going through some shit, so it was like I was kind of scrambled up. I was like kind of shook me a little, just a tad bit. I wasn't just scared. It shook me just a tad bit. I had to step back. But I seen shit, this motherfucker moving on his own and all kind of shit. And you might say, oh, that nigga lying. Now I seen this shit with my own goddamn eyes. I'm talking about, I take something, put that shit on the counter, turn my back for 2 seconds, turn back to where I put that shit and it's gone. It's not there no more. Then I turn my back again, that shit that I put on the counter is now on the table. Yeah, that type of shit. So I'm gonna go ahead and chop this one off right here. Quit without my head because I know this camera finna cut off. I'd rather end it myself than this motherfucker just abruptly cut off. But I might hit y'all with some more Halloween shit going into tonight, or maybe tomorrow I'll do another video just to brush up